Okay, if you had to take a wild stab in the dark at the highest mileage motorcycle that you've ever seen or that you think is out there, what would it be? Would it be 50,000 miles? 100,000 miles? Motorcycles are interesting because it's not like cars where there's plenty of car examples where you can compare a sedan to a truck and the reliability and the mileage there. Bikes are very different, where 20 to 30,000 miles could be higher mileage depending on the make and model that you have. But it got me thinking, what are some of the highest mileage examples of motorcycles out there that we can see as an example for what's actually capable on motorcycles? So in today's video, I'm going to be diving into two pretty crazy stories of two different bikes. One you probably might guess, the other one I don't think you would, on just how far these two riders took their bikes to the limit and all the different maintenance that they had to do in order to get to their bikes to this mileage. One story is a US veteran, thanks for your service, who rode through all 48 states nonstop in the US, did over 31,000 miles in just under a month. And the other one rode his bike over the course of 10 years, rode his bike through 210 plus countries, which I don't even know that there's that many countries out there. So we're going to be talking about both these stories, comparing the bikes, the different maintenance that they had to go through, and just sharing more of this awesome story that I think needs more publicity. Before I go any further, guess which bikes these are. Don't cheat, don't fast forward. Let me know what you guys think the choice of bikes were for each situation. I'd be curious to hear what everyone's guess is before we get into it. All right, guys, so Memorial Day just passed here. Hope all my veterans got their free Grand Slam, and we're going to start with the US veteran, Dave Zien. Now, Dave Zien has a pretty cool backstory. He was actually a Wisconsin state senator. He was also a former crayon eater in the Marine Corps. This mug-blooded American, Dave Zien. Based on what you heard so far, what do you think he bought? He bought a Harley. Of course he bought a Harley. So in 1991, he bought a Harley Davidson FXRT Street Glide, I believe, and basically took it from 1991 all the way to 2009 and clocked over 1 million miles on this motorcycle. Absolutely insanity to hear for especially early 90s Harley Davidson. Now let's break this down a little bit more. 91 to 2009, that's quite a bit of time, but he also rode over 1 million miles, and I can't even say that I've ridden over 25,000, 30,000 in my lifespan of having motorcycles. But this guy, he averaged 55,000 miles a year, which is already a lot for a car. That's probably around 5x what the average car is doing, let alone a motorcycle. This consisted of going through all 48 states. It consisted of going to different veteran rallies and events, and probably a lot of Sturgis trips and things all sort of in between, if you will. Now, look, I'm not here to badmouth every Harley and tell you they're not reliable, but 1 million miles on any bike, even over the course of that much time, it's going to take a lot of repairs, a lot of different maintenance in order to get it there. So let's give you the breakdown of what happened to Dave's bike throughout this 1 million mile journey over the course of 2 decades. So I'll keep this really straightforward. We had 2 full engines replaced, 9 engine overhauls. What does overhaul mean? It means a teardown of the engine, replacing pistons, replacing a bunch of key fundamental parts. That's how I'm going to define that as 9 different engine overhauls. He went through 105 rear tires, 17 stators, and apparently 9 seats. Now, there's obviously other stuff like brake pads and whatnot. I won't bore you with every granular detail, but that's a lot of maintenance for this bike. Now, again, incredibly impressive that this thing went 1 million miles, but this story, I think, is more around the resilience of Dave as a person, because this guy was absolutely nuts about riding and going to these events and being present in the veteran community. I think a lot of bikes, if you do 9 overhauls and replace the engine twice over, you could probably get some good mileage out of it. But nonetheless, very impressive 1 million mile bike that was roughly retired around 2009 to 2011. Now, Dave actually experienced an accident where he lost the feeling in one of his legs, and it made him pivot to a 3-wheeled motorcycle. So again, I think this is more a story of resilience than it is to a testimony on Harley's reliability, but maybe just call me a Harley hater and we'll call it a day. So we had the true American Dave Zien. He gave Harley a great reputation with his story there. His bike now sits in a historical museum. I will put photos of what it's labeled as because I forget the name off the top of my head. But Dave Zien, what a guy, what an American. Let's move on to Emilio Scotto, who I believe I'm pronouncing that name right, but this is an Argentine-born guy from 1954 who in 1985, after leaving his pharmaceutical sales representative job, for some reason had a bug up his rear end to buy a Honda Goldwing, specifically a 1980 Goldwing GL 1100 that he called Black Princess, and he went around pretty much the entire world. I don't know how this guy did this, but he did. In 10 years, he went to 214 different countries, and he rode over 457,000 miles on this Goldwing. My body hurts just hearing that. That just sounds so painful. But honestly, really epic story because Emilio was able to travel to places like Africa. He suffered getting malaria and different diseases, getting arrested, robbed, all this stuff in between, and to really war-torn countries. He took this Goldwing all the way across literally the entire world. I don't know how this guy did that or how he shipped his bike there. Didn't really look into the details that hard on that part, but incredible story of this Goldwing itself. Here's where I think it gets a little interesting. So this is obviously a little less than half the mileage of the Harley that we mentioned with Dave Zien. Why I think this is more impressive is because he only had one engine replacement and no overhauls labeled throughout his entire journey of going almost 500,000 miles on this bike. He did go through almost 100 tires. He did go through a lot of maintenance stuff that's kind of par for the course if you're putting 500,000 miles on anything. But what is really nuts to me is that he took a bike from 1980, so 11 years older, and went 500,000 miles with only one engine replacement. Call me biased, but if that doesn't make you a little bit of a Japanese fanboy, I don't know what will. So what does this mean? Does this mean that every bike's gonna go 500,000 miles or 1,000,000 miles? No, not at all. But it's really cool to see examples like this of people who took things to the absolute extreme. We've seen plenty of examples of people taking cars to 1,000,000+ miles. I think people know those stories if you are into cars or anything like that at all. But with bikes, it's really interesting because sometimes people think a 30,000 mile bike is something that's very high mileage, which it could be for a specific bike, but in most cases for street cruisers or something that's for touring, it's not really a whole lot. I mean, for a lot of bikes, that could be the break-in period. With that, guys, I want to hear your thoughts on, did these bikes surprise you? What did you think about these stories? It's very cool to hear incredible stories like these two people, Dave and Emilio, who went on these insane adventures. I hope that there's more publicity around this, and I hope that more people get out there riding. If you guys could, please comment in the section below the highest mileage bike that you've ever owned or that you've ever seen on the road. Personally, I haven't even seen one above, let's say, 50 to 60,000 miles. So I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks high mileage really means with bikes, and I'll catch you on the next video.